Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is college basketball, Saturday, January 13th. We have another loaded slate, bit fewer than normal on a Saturday with Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. I know there's some Big Ten games happening on Monday. I think like Michigan's playing next on Monday. They don't even play this weekend. And so there's more happening on Sunday, I think, and more on Monday. So I think there's only like 130 games, still a lot happening. Only there are 30 A grades right now. We have narrowed that down to 15 best bets. We're going to talk about 14 of them here. The 15th is the play of the day. And remember, you can get all those best bets at Black Book Sports at links in the show description, $9.99 per month, or you can get everything, including Discord access, extended cut, ad-free shows, all sorts of goodies over on Dub Club. Sign up today for a free 1-week trial. That QR code will send you right there, or the link in the show description as well will get you right there for that free trial. Might as well check it out, especially on a loaded slate like this. Still time to get our NFL picks, which just destroyed all season long. See how we feel about the divisional round. 7 picks in the 6 games. Jake, before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Big Ten and home court advantage. We've kind of been talking about that a little bit throughout the week. The home court advantage, historically, teams win like 62-ish% of games, and we really have a great idea about what home court is in college basketball because you play home and home. It gives you a perfect barometer. And now that's gotten a little bit carried away because there's a lot of not home and home. So it's been a little bit tougher, a little bit more math involved in recent years with the conferences expanding. But for so many conferences, they still play 2 home and homes. And it gives you a really good idea of what home court is on the whole. When you take one specific matchup, you might end up thinking home court's worth, one team wins by 10 at home, one team wins by 10 at home. And it's like, oh, home court's worth 10 points. It's like, we got to aggregate them all together, right? And we know about what it's worth. This year, the home teams are winning at a really high clip, and especially in the Big Ten. And a lot of the games aren't even close. I mean, and what part of it's like Michigan on the road or whatever. It's like Michigan's like falling apart from the heydays of when we took them as an A grade to beat St. John's, which feels like years ago at this point. But then, Purdue going on the road and just getting thumped by a Nebraska team who just got thumped tonight by Iowa. Jake, I'm curious your take. You're our X's and O's guy. I'm the math guy. You have talked to me before, I don't believe it was on show, about wanting to see certain teams try the zone a little bit more, how it can mess with kids at this level a little bit. And I know you've talked about that with Purdue. They have occasionally, either gone to zone or teams going to the zone against them. And I know, you talk about just, wow, how great it can be if a coach can mix it up. You saw Nebraska tonight. Looked pretty good. They started off slow, came back, and then Iowa goes to the zone and runs away with it. And you saw Nebraska just wasn't prepared for that zone. So Iowa having that card, being able to play. So do you think there's things like that happening that might make it seem like the home court's a little bit bigger this year so far? And we're going to see that balance out when the road matchups happen because it's just some weird matchup things? Or what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's threefold, right? So first off, and most importantly, is you're so used to shooting in that home gym. You know the feel. If the 3-point line is 2 inches shorter on the left side than it is the right side, or some weird, crazy thing like that.
Hopefully that's not the case, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's little things like that. You understand about the court. It looks familiar. That is the largest part of the home court for me. Right. Advantage. Like it's just, and the crowd, you're not getting booed, all that.
Refs have shown a little bit of a bias towards the home teams overall across all sports. It's just kind of a thing. They try not to, of course, but they're humans like us, and the subconscious can't help but see things a little bit different when what you're hearing from the fans. And so we just know that's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing, and like you said, in all sports. So doesn't matter. The second is, and this is going to really feel like old man screaming at the clouds, right? AAU ball and high school ball and all that has become so offensive driven and things like that the zones aren't seen as much anymore. And so when you see these teams go to a zone, like the example that always pops into the top of my head is when Purdue and Arizona were playing here in Indy. Arizona goes to a 3-2 zone and immediately comes right back in the game. Got it within, I think, 3 to 5 points, something like that. And then they ran away from it. And as soon as they did, Purdue goes on an 8, 10, or 11-0 run, something like that, and puts the game away. When these kids aren't used to seeing zones or though, especially the weird ones, like a 3-2 that Arizona was running, or the 1-3-1, and you saw it with Tennessee. Tennessee was getting drilled by Mississippi State, and they went to I think it was a 2-2-1 press, and all of a sudden Mississippi State doesn't know what to do.
The pressure really threw them.
Yeah. Some of these exotic defenses, when you're not used to seeing it, and you've got very offensively driven upbringing, it gets confusing. You make the wrong plays, you stand around, takes the movement out of the game. And for teams like they have a really good big guy like Edey or Baycott or something like that, if you run a zone, you can front and be behind them at the same time. So it makes it harder to make the entry pass.
You just kind of swarm them, basically.
Yeah, and it causes a lot of stagnation especially if you're not ready for it. And no movement on the offense makes it a lot easier to guard. And I think the third part was, you kind of hinted at it, is refs seem to be letting home teams be a lot more physical than away teams, and that really changes how you play defense and everything, and it can really change how a team is allowed to play. But that is a very minuscule part of it. It's like I said, it's mainly the comfort in the gym, and then matchups and things like that you're more willing to do it at home when the coach can signal in the defense. He knows you can hear it, and it's not getting drowned out by the crowd, and then a little bit of the refs.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. The refs, of course, and it kind of is what it is, and they're human and they're trying their best.
Yeah.
We have, I don't get to watch a ton of games, but the late ones I kind of can watch a little bit. And the last two nights, and this will be Wednesday and Thursday, we had Colorado Wednesday, and then UC Irvine on Thursday, both of them on the road. And yeah, it was insanely one-sided, where one side could just mug the other side. It was about 1 out of 4 times to get called, and the other side was real touchy. And it's part of going to the road. That's part of what's built into the model, of course. Yeah. I guess my follow-up question, you kind of touched on it there, maybe a little bit of the crowd being able to get the zone in. Do you think we're going to see a little bit larger home court edge? Because if it's an issue of getting the defense in, called and sort of that sort of stuff, and or being able, less risk taking on the road to be able to take, do you think it's going to be built in and we're going to see a little bit more overall, or do you think it's just a weird matchup thing where like the right teams have been home to put the zones in or do whatever, and it's just been kind of a quirky thing, and we're going to see it come back? Just hold on a second, because I think that's the question everyone has. I have, obviously, too, as we're going forward, is like, should we be thinking about home court as not an average of mid 2s in your small schools to 4.5 for your big schools, but maybe up to 5.5, 6? I mean, should we really be thinking about the stretching it out a little bit more, or do you think this is just, and obviously I know there's a data part of this and whatnot, a sample size or whatever, but most of our people don't want to hear that discussion, so that's why I'm kind of tailing the just from the X's and O's part. What is your thought on that?
I think it's going to be a lot of conference by conference, because you can't go team by team. Because it feels like, and I could be wrong, but it feels like the Big Ten has longer travel than most. Because Big 12? I
don't know if that's true. I mean,
I don't know. It feels like it to me, because it feels like Iowa is way out there.
Versus, I think it's gotten so bad now. I think there was a time when it was a little bit different, right? But like, look about the Big 12 this year. BYU's about to play UCF.
I forgot so retract that statement. I forgot that those two teams are now in the same conference.
But Iowa to Rutgers is a long trip for sure.
Yeah, for some reason it seems like the Big 12 and the Big 10 have more teams that like Iowa at home is nearly unstoppable. Purdue is unstoppable at home. As soon as they go on the road, they look extremely mortal.
Rutgers has long had an incredible home court advantage. We've talked about for years on the show.
Yeah, and Iowa State is one of those top ones, in Texas Tech, because like they're hard to get to. So, but it doesn't seem to affect the SEC as much, and I don't quite understand why. But
maybe if football just means more, maybe basketball just means less. Maybe there's and of course we talk about the Pac-12 home edges as well, being a little bit bigger, some travel spots or some elevation spots. Elevation is a tricky thing, and then that back-to-back kind of thing where you're going a long ways away, but you're staying out there and you're playing 2 days later on the road trip can be kind of quirky too. So some of these bigger conferences, maybe we'll see that. I have been looking at it. we're kind of I'm on watch with the model here. Should we be looking at specifically the Big 10, the Big 12, making those home court edges just a little bit more for those teams in conference games?
Yeah, and I wish I could point to a reason why, but I don't know. It just seems, and I mean, this is 2, 3, 4, 5 years of it, especially like Iowa and Purdue and Iowa State and things. It just seems that those home courts have a bigger advantage, and I don't know if that's one of those like self-fulfilling prophecies, right? Like you convince yourself that you play better at home, you start playing better at home, and then it just kind of keeps
almost
rolling.
like a placebo effect, I think.
Yeah, and then the road you play worse because it's in your head that you play worse on the road. I don't know. I think the home court is a lot more psychological than we're giving it credit for in the spreads and whatnot.
And we talk a lot about it's very different in pro and college. In pros, I don't. The momentum is completely meaningless in the pros. We have done billions of studies on this. It might exist, but it's not worth anything. And you know that in pros, and I think it makes sense in the pros. You have more maturity. They're adults. You have they've been the best player of everything they've ever done. They've been the best player at 12 years old and in high school and in college. And like those guys, they're built different than you and I are. They're built just to be like, I am better than everyone else. Even when they are, even like the fifth best player on the NBA team thinks he's better than everybody else, which he has to be to get there. And so it's just different, right? With that. But college kids, we talk about it's a little bit different. You have a little bit younger, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids. It's just a little bit different. Some of them maybe haven't been quite the best because you haven't funneled them out, et cetera. So it is something we'll keep an eye on with the home court thing. I think it's a really fascinating discussion. Hopefully that was interesting to you. If not, again, we do timestamp the games in the show description. So you just fast forward if you don't want to hear about that. But I'll put this in the show description that we had this discussion because I think it's an interesting point, something to be aware of. I don't want people to overreact and just say road teams can't win. We always got to be on the home team. But I don't want to, bury my head in the sand and say we're not paying attention to this. And for viewers who are going to comment on this, I am well aware the Big Ten has had larger home court edges these last couple of years. This is not news, right? It's just kind of, this is a little bit more than that even. And how are we view just that discussion? So we're aware that it's been even crazier this year. I
mean, Nebraska alone is a great case because for 3 or 4 years ago, their home court was nothing. But all of a sudden they wiped the floor with IU and Purdue, and then they go on the road. As soon as they go on the road, they look very pedestrian.
Yeah, you got of course a great coach building up a good program there. So anyway, interesting discussion. Again, sign up for Dub Club. We talk about these things on Discord all the time. We talk about live betting. Right now I have my eyes on Nevada, who we had in the show yesterday, but we talked in the Discord about live betting them at close to even money here just to win, and they're in the second half now. So we'll see how that goes. So a lot of fun over in the Discord. You can get all that on Dub Club. Again, the sign up link for the free trial in the show description. Otherwise, though, we'll get to it. 3 big games to talk about on Saturday, and a bunch of other best bets coming in the extended cut. But we're going to start off with Kentucky and Texas A&M, 2 pretty good teams. But Kentucky, we talked about exactly 1 week ago today, going on the road, got the win for us as underdogs. Not much more to say about them. If you joined us in this last week, the Cliff Notes version is incredible offense, questionable on defense. You always worry if that offense will go on the road, but Kentucky seems to be putting it together. All these John Calipari teams are always fascinating because you just never know at the start of the year exactly what's going to happen. And it's just up and down every year. And some years are better than others. Some years come together better than others. You just never know. Sideline's a believer in this iteration of Kentucky basketball. Has them number 12. Thinks they win this 58% of the time. A&M, not a bad team, but a little bit disappointing. Just hasn't quite gotten it together yet. Obviously, if you're an Aggie fan like Cousin Jared is, that's his alma mater, you have to be, a little bit disappointed after what was a promising start to the season. I've been to that arena. It's not, Texas A&M has a very loyal fan base. Their home edges statistically aren't really that good. Part of it is you talk about the SEC in basketball doesn't have great home edges. Even in football, A&M doesn't, even though people talk about and I've been there against when they played Texas in the stadium, was literally shaking. It's just not coming through in the data for whatever reason. So I don't think I'm really worried to take the road team here. Again, we talked about it early, at the top for 10 minutes there. Road teams have not done that well this year. I think some of that's going to come back to earth. We had Kentucky on the road last week. They clearly can get it done. We're going to take them in even money. It's an A-grade pick. I have a feeling you might be able to get plus odds. Right now, there's only 1 shop with money lines with all the games at the time of this recording. But I'm seeing them at some places like plus 2. That'll probably get you about plus 105. Anything plus odds is an A-grade on this one. According to the model, Jake, tell us more.
Like, I hate this, but Kentucky is a very, very good team this year, and they're only going to get better as they get the arrow back, and they're loaded with freshman talent. They've got some really good big guys, and I feel bad for Texas A&M because Julius Marble is a good player. Is a very good player. He just hasn't been there this year for him. I mean, I know he's out right now with a personal matter. Hope it goes well for him. No clue what it is. Hope it gets resolved. But then not only that, Radford was out for a bit. They just can't get they can't get healthy enough to keep going. I mean, this calendar year they haven't scored 60 points yet in a game. I know it's 2 games. It's fun to say, but I mean, they're lost 4 of their last 6, and the 2 wins was Houston Christian and Prairie View A&M. They're I don't know. The offense is wrong right now. Buzz Williams hasn't got it figured out. And Kentucky is not the team you want to go against to figure that out because they can really put it on you. Offensively, that is where they shine. Their defense is getting better, but I mean, they shoot the 3 ball so well. They've got ball handlers galore with Reed Shepard and Rob Dillingham and Antonio Reeves. I don't know where Texas A&M is going to find that advantage. Maybe on the glass, but I think I got a feeling Kentucky's going to see so many shots going in that the glass advantage isn't going to matter. The pace they play at, Texas A&M is not going to be comfortable with that. It is going to be a lot of Kentucky here on the road. I think anything plus odds I can't wait to jump on.
Yeah, model says -103 is your threshold for the A grade, -121 for the B grade, and that it should be -140. So again, these are things you get on every single game, every single day over on Dub Club. And you can sign up for that free trial on that link in the show description. Obviously this is a game where A&M does project to break that 60-point threshold just because of the fact that Kentucky's defense is maybe not quite up to par with the top teams in college basketball and the pace they play at, of course. But you just expect Kentucky to score a lot of points anytime they play, given their pace and their offense. Just as a reminder, of course, if anybody who's new for us here today, we tend to get a few new eyeballs on Saturdays because all the games that people are interested in. We talk a lot about every side, every total, every over, every under, whatever is playable if the number's right. You just got to find what that number is. And that's where we talk about, there's no locks in gambling. There's no this team will win, this team won't win ahead of time. We have no idea. Something will happen. We just don't know what it is. And the model says that Kentucky wins 58% of the time. If you disagree with this pick, that's totally fine. The idea being you would disagree with that probability because that's how we view the world. Because otherwise, you could talk yourself into some wonky logic of playing things like -1,000 or something. And obviously nobody would do that. And so the model says that we would love to play A&M if we could get big plus odds. The issue is they're favorite in this game. And so this is our classic that we love, the wrong team favorite game, and that if I got plus 200, I'd be thrilled to take A&M in this one, but I need that sort of payout in order for us to think that it's worth it. It gets fun with probability, and that's again why we have success, because probability is my specialty and it's not the world's specialty. And so we like to take advantage of that in these near 50-50 games where we can find an edge. Kentucky is one of them. Doesn't mean it will win. It just means these are the types of picks that overall long term provide us with profitability. Moving to the night slot, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Alabama and Mississippi State. Mississippi State got the win over Tennessee in a game that we talked about. The model thought the total was pretty spot on with regards to the market. It kind of saw eye to eye. That game went over by about 10 points pretty easily, maybe even more than that. And we've long talked about the better teams in college basketball this year. Are mostly over teams. It's been kind of thing we've preached. Offenses are better than the defenses now because the game's changed a little bit from what it looked like 5-10 years ago. That's no more true than Alabama, who has according to Sideline, #1 rated offense in the country. And while Mississippi State has a fantastic defense, they played a Tennessee team who also has a fantastic defense. And that game, again, cleared the number easily. I think we're in a similar situation here, but we're going to attack it really directly with this over. I think the sportsbooks have come up. I think this one's going to go over as well. Model projects an average of 160.7 points. That doesn't mean I predict it to have that many points. Obviously, that's not possible. What that tells us is it gives us an idea to anchor our probabilities off of and say we think this game goes over 155.5. Somewhere in the upper 50% of the time. That obviously means that 40% of events do happen. So you never really know who's going to get hot. that sort of thing, who's not. Nebraska almost cost us our over last night by the best 3-point shooting team in the conference, shooting like 4 for 35 or something ridiculous from 3-point land. You never know when that sort of thing's going to happen. But otherwise, the ingredients are here for an over. Mississippi State doesn't play at the slow pace that people think they might. They're pretty run-of-the-mill. Bama likes to run and gun with a great offense, and I would as well. Mississippi's got a good defense. This will be a good test for Alabama. Don't know who wins, but I think there will be points. We're going to go over. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this goes over. We're getting a lot of value, I think, by the perceived pace of Mississippi State. Tolu Smith had his first start against Tennessee, and boy, did he look like a different guy than he did against the South Carolina game. He looked like the player that I expected at the beginning of the year. There was nothing, and Tennessee is a very physical team. There was nothing Tennessee could do to get him off his spot. And if he's playing like that against a Bama team who does not have the same kind of strength that Tennessee has, there's going to be a lot of points here because Bama's going to run, Bama's going to shoot threes. I think we're also getting value from them holding South Carolina to 47, but I think holding is the wrong word.
Yeah, South Carolina probably held themselves more to that.
Yeah, South Carolina took more shots. They didn't take as many threes and definitely didn't make as many, but they're not that big of a 3-point shooting team. They didn't get to the line enough. So I think Alabama really benefited from putting South Carolina in a game they didn't want to be in. Mississippi State's a little bit more disciplined with the guards they've got, and like Tolu Smith can kind of slow a game down a little bit. I don't think he's going to slow it down enough for this not to go over with the way Alabama runs and shoots the 3 ball. If they make anything like they did last game, this will fly over.
Yeah. Of course, Alabama overs have been kind of hit or miss. We've been on a lot of them. I think we've won more than we've lost, but it's not been by a ton. But we've been on a lot of them. And again, the ones that haven't hit have been like the South Carolina one, where we took both the over and we laid the points with Alabama, so we got the split at least. But sometimes the opponent just doesn't cooperate. But this Alabama defense, it's not that it's bad. I don't want to disparage necessarily. It's very okay. It's not as good as Mississippi State's, obviously. But when you play at that sort of pace, you're just going to give up a lot of points. It kind of just is what it is. And a lot of times when you have that pace, Jake, you like to talk about a lot, you're trying to force turnovers and you're generating turnovers, and that's going to get you points quickly. And sometimes it's going to give up points quickly. And so we just tend to see a lot of points in these Alabama games. We think the market hasn't really caught up with some of these teams with regards to how many points they can score. We're going to go over 155.5. And I mentioned, I don't really know who wins this game. Obviously, Alabama should be slightly favored. That's how the market has it. That's how my model has it. I think most other models probably would agree, but we have it at 55%. This Mississippi State team is behind Alabama, but not by a ton. And at home, this is absolutely anyone's contest, 55, 45%. Those sort of outcomes happen all the time. So you can see this is part of what you get at Dub Club. Every single game, every single day right there, the A grade thresholds. If we could get Alabama, we're really needing plus odds for the A grade. Mississippi State, we need even bigger plus odds. Right now, this is nowhere near bettable territory for the side. But as you can see from the predicted total, we think it's kind of an 81, 79-ish type of game. And again, the average team total error is like 10 points or something like that. So it could be both teams around 70 or both teams around 90, right? That's what we talk about. There's variance. There's no locks in gambling. We play responsibly with regards to not putting more than 5% of our bankroll in any one play, and usually never more than 3 or 4, because you just never know what's going to happen. But in general, we think this is more likely to get around 160, either upper 150s or into the low 160s is kind of the most likely outcome of all possible outcomes, making over 155.5. An A grade pick, a lot of B, C, D grade picks out there as well. Thankfully for our Saturday, we have so many A grades. We're able to give you 3 of them. And that third one is coming in USC, Colorado. Jake, I've been mostly playing these USC overs of late, and I feel like they've hit like 6 out of 7, 6 out of 8. I'm not really sure what it is, but they've been pretty good on this over. Their offense isn't bad. Their defense, really for Power 5 standards, really lacks, or Power 6, or whatever you're going to call it. I don't even know how many conferences there are anymore with all this and what we're doing and how we're naming them, right? But for these top teams, for a team that came into the season with tournament aspirations, both their offense and defense have let them down, but the defense is just a real sore spot. They play relatively fast, and Colorado's not drastically different. Good on offense, questionable on defense. They play relatively fast. This should be a fun game. We're going to go over 152. Another A grade for us, as the model thinks, about 160. Kind of lathers repeat what we said from the last one with regards to about how much of an edge we have. A little bit of a different style, though, because that one we've got to overcome Mississippi State's defense, but we think Bama's pace is so extreme and offense is so good, it can generate points for us. This one's a little bit more, both teams just are good on offense and not on defense. It's really that simple. Throw in a little fast pace, and we have a recipe for a lot of points. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really all pace and driven because both these teams want to play fast. Both of them have very good offenses and defenses that don't match. USC makes me a little nervous right now with Collier going down. He's a superstar, and losing him, I'm curious how they're going to react. I think that it's going to affect them on both sides of the ball a lot. So I think that offensive rating is going to go down a bit, but not as much as that defensive rating will go down. Because also the turnovers are going to happen a little bit more because he did a lot of taking care of the ball for him. They're already high on the turnover area, so I think that's going to be a little bit more because Colorado is even high on the turnovers. They're getting healthier, where Southern Cal's not. So I think this is going to lean Colorado's way. If I was going to play a side, I would maybe slightly, I don't know, lean that way. I don't trust Colorado that much at all. But I think there's going to be tons of points because neither team really wants to play defense. They love playing offense. The pace is going to happen. Just a slightly nervous with Collier going down, but other than that, this should hit around 155, 160 with how these teams like to play.
And when the model was run earlier in the day, Collier was actually listed as question mark. I guess we had the right information on him. So he's 50-50 in the model. That's the benefit of a player-based model is in tomorrow's updates, you'll see, if you're with the Sun Dub Club, exactly what the new projection is. Typically, when a player goes from questionable to out, it might affect the total 1 point, 2 points. And you never really know the direction because, like you said, it's not just the offense, it's the defense that you have to consider as well. And so either way, whatever the total is in the morning when the model realizes he is out would still be around 160, which is still making it over 152. A pretty strong pick. Again, benefit of a player-based model. That was a lot of fun to build, and I think it's been very useful for us in that regard. Jake, final thought on this game. This is the weird weekend of the Pac-12, one of the two weird weekends they've added in now where it's not the standard road trip. This is not where USC just played at Utah. They're all crisscrossing around crazy. Usually Colorado plays on a Saturday at home. They played on a Thursday at home, but they played on a Thursday at Cal. So they're traveling back. Do you think there's any effect of any of that nonsense travel, or just ignore all that, focus on the fact that both teams play fast, both teams are better on offense than defense, and just that's it?
I mean, I think I'm pretty sure Colorado's an older team, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're for the most part older. Most of their production is going older, so I don't think the travel is going to affect. I think that would be more if you were like a younger team that was more dependent on your freshmen, kind of like Southern Cal kind of is with Collier and James and all that. So I would. If that was the opposite way, where Southern Cal had been playing on the road and was traveling, flip flopping back and forth like a lot, I would be a little more wary than Colorado. But that's just my opinion.
I think this is the easier one for USC because I think it's tougher to have been on the road than come back and then play, having that travel effect. So I think it's a little bit tougher on Colorado there, which might actually diminish a little bit of their home court edge because Southern Cal played at home on Thursday, so they were everything normal. And now it's the extra trip, right? Colorado had to fly there and then fly back, whereas USC only had to fly one place. So a little bit easier travel for them on this one. USC has gone over 9 of their last 11. So I mean, no reason not to think that in general over is the way to look. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on injury stuff and see if anything big changes. But typically, you lose a little offense, you lose a little defense. It's not going to do much. The biggest thing is you got to keep an eye on, does the coach decide to completely change something up, which happens on occasion, but that's a rarity. I think we saw it last year with Florida with Castleton, a guy who just the whole offense revolved around him. It's okay, we got to start over from square one. And last year it didn't really do much for him at all, but it's a whole other issue.
Do you think there's any value here to letting the public and maybe other people overreact and bet this down a bit? And so we might we get 150.5 or something instead of 152, or do you think there's more value jumping on it now?
I rarely try to predict where the number's going to go because, it's just You never know. And there's been so many times we've seen this year, especially where we've locked in picks and sent them out there to bring a dub club at like 9 or 10 o'clock. And then at midnight, after the show's done recording and I'm looking at things, numbers have moved 2 or 3 points one direction. And then by the time I wake up and run the update, now it's gone like 5 points the other direction. I'm like, I don't know if that's people trying to soften up the market, the funny money stuff, or because the limits affect all that, right? And how that's playing. That's like a whole complicated chess match. So I have no idea. In general, my philosophy is I always if it's an A grade, I just always take it and don't stress about it. So I would just go over 152 and not worry about it. But you may be right. People may overreact. I wonder if they would the issue is I think they would overreact more if this total was at like 140, being on the lower side. Typically people like to play overs with bigger numbers. So we'll see how that goes. But we think this number's too low. I think it should be still around 160. So we're going to go over 152, which wraps us up for the free pick show. 11 more best bets coming in the extended cut. If you're first time with us, have a little outro video, 60 seconds, just some quick reminders and some thoughts for you to soak in. Otherwise, Jake, parting words before we get a minute breather and then come back and talk 11 more college basketball games.
I just want to talk more basketball. That's what I do all day. And that's what I want to do more now.
There you go. All right. Well, again, viewer, hopefully we see you on the other side. You can get the extended cut if you're with us on Dub Club. Sign up, link the subscription, free trial. No reason not to, especially with the NFL games coming up. Hopefully we see you on the other side of the music.